Just by way of background, on, I think, Tuesday, there was an attempt to sneak this report to my office, an attempt which I effectively sabotaged and insisted that discussing openness can only be discussed in an open forum. And therefore, I ask that this meeting be rescheduled so that we can have this meeting in this open place rather than in a room in my office. And admittedly, listening to the vice chair, the chair of the CAJ, and the conversation that is going on here about the state of the openness of our country, I am proudly amazed at how sophisticated a country I lead. I'm sure there are very few countries that undertake this kind of conversation. State of openness is not a common thing. And I am very proud that while I do whatever I do in the office, there are other good Kenyans who are also doing some very useful work on how we can run the affairs of our nation in a space that there is adequate information to citizens and that we are open and transparent, obeying constitutional imperatives of transparency and accountability. And therefore, I commend CAJ and all the partners for undertaking this exercise. A confident government does not fear scrutiny. In fact, it welcomes scrutiny. And I have heard here about the stakeholders. We have people from different spaces, from civil society, from the private sector, from government, from the opposition. And because we are not competitors, we are partners in forging a nation. And therefore, I'm very happy that Kenya is a member of the Open Government Partnership. I have been part of this movement in Kenya since when I was Deputy President. And I'm very happy that we will be making, hopefully in November, the first open government, you said open government? State of Openness Report. I think that's quite something. Government does not demand public trust. We must earn it. It is with that conviction that we gather here today to commission the preparation for Kenya's inaugural State of Openness Report. Government does not become weaker by confronting the truth about themselves. They become stronger. Institutions do not earn public trust by demanding it. They earn it by serving the people honestly, fairly, and openly. That is why this administration has chosen to create the very instruments by which it will measure itself. This is more than a technical exercise. It is a national undertaking that reflects not only the value of our Constitution, but also the kind of government we are determined to build. Around the world, trust in public institutions is under growing pressure. Technology has expanded access to information, but it has also accelerated misinformation, disinformation, and the spread and manipulation of fake news. As a result, citizens are asking harder questions of government, and rightfully so. Trust cannot be simply claimed, it must therefore be earned. While I sat here and listening to what we are trying to do, in the context of where we are today, with so much information available in the public space because of technology, and with the accompanying challenges of misinformation and fake news, openness now is much more important even for government than anybody else. I think government needs openness more than any other time in our history. Because unless there is a place where people can get accurate information, unless there is availability of accurate information, and government is open enough for us to be to account for whatever is going on, then we could easily be swarmed by misinformation and fake news. Openness goes beyond administrative practice. It therefore becomes the foundation of democratic legitimacy. Our Constitution recognizes this from the very beginning. Article 10 enshrines transparency and accountability among our national values, while Article 35 guarantees every Kenyan the right of access to information. These are not aspirations. They are constitutional obligations that must be renewed through action. Today's commissioning is one such action. It gives effect to that constitutional promise, fulfills our commitment to institutionalize open governance across all state organs and agencies through an annual State of Openness Report, as pledged in the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, and delivers on Kenya's 5th National Action Plan under the OGP. Kenya's democratic journey has always been defined by our determination to strengthen institutions rather than personalities. As our democracy matures, Kenyans rightfully expect more than promise. They expect openness, accountability, and measurable results. This report responds to that expectation by establishing a national benchmark against which our public institutions can continuously measure and improve their performance. Is openness making government work better for the people? Answering that question requires more than measuring compliance with laws, policies, and procedures. It requires us to determine whether openness is improving public services, strengthening accountability, enhancing the stewardship of public resources, making institutions more responsive, and ultimately improving the lives of the Kenyan people. The report must tell us where we are succeeding, where we are falling short, and what reforms are needed to achieve better outcomes. Honest assessment is not a sign of institutional weakness. It is one of the strongest foundations of effective government. And if we are to assess openness, we must do so openly. The methodology must be transparent, the evidence must be credible, the consultations must be inclusive, and the findings must be independent. That is why it is fitting that this important national exercise is being led by the Commission on Administrative Justice, an independent institution entrusted with safeguarding administrative justice and the right of access to information. This inaugural report should establish the national baseline against which future progress will be measured. Over time, it should become Kenya's authoritative reference point on openness, institutional performance, and public trust, guiding reforms, strengthening institutions, and enabling citizens to judge how effectively government is serving them. I therefore expect every ministry, state department, agency, constitutional commission, and county government to cooperate fully by providing accurate information and participating in a rigorous and credible assessment. And I will instruct the head of public service to make sure that all government departments, ministries, agencies avail all the information to this exercise so that we can openly report to the people of Kenya where we are and where we are going. I equally encourage civil society, the private sector, academia, the media, and every Kenyan to participate actively in this process. The strength of this report will depend on the quality of the evidence it gathers and the diversity of the perspectives it reflects. This administration remains firmly committed to building a more open government through greater transparency, stronger accountability, wider access to information, and continued digital transformation. As I say this, I know my special envoy on technology is sitting right here. Right from the beginning, we decided that we were going to eliminate areas that give government grey information. I remember when we started the journey of opening government through digitization, there was a bit of resistance in areas, especially in financial spaces. I remember we had close to 1,000 pay bills in government. Every state department had their own corner. Every agency had their own thing. We decided that we were going to digitize the whole of government. Government services that were digitized in 2022 were about 350. Today, we have 26,000 government services digitized. And on a digital platform, people can access government information, government services, pay for those services. We have eliminated, to a great extent, payment in any other form other than digitally, because you can easily trace who paid, where was it paid, for what service. I remember we ran into a lot of problems with people who did not want to pay for government services on the digital space. They still wanted to carry cash, they still wanted to carry checks, and we insisted that going forward, no government service is going to be paid for in cash. No government service is going to be paid for otherwise, other than either by electronic transfer or by other digital platforms. And the results have been phenomenal. We have not only enhanced government revenue collection, but we have also eliminated the sticky cash transactions that end up undermining transparency and, in fact, promoting corruption. And so it was our first point of call to say we must move government services from being on paper and many other spaces onto a digital platform. Number two, we undertook that government procurement is also going to be done on a digital platform so that we know who is tendering, for what amount is it being tendered, and who are the ultimate beneficial owners of the companies that are trading with government. The EGP platform has been there for the last 12 years, but it has never been implemented until we did it last year. Again, it's providing us with an open platform where government procurement is subjected to scrutiny. And so long as you participate, the data is available. We know who is applying, we know for how much, and we know who has been awarded and why. And are they the most competitive or are they not? There is still some little pushback in some areas, but I'm very happy that we are making demonstrable progress. The third item that I want to quote as we do this report is government-owned agencies or government-owned enterprises. We've been grappling for the last 15 years on making sure that those who serve in boards of parastatals and government agencies are competitively recruited and we minimize political influence. The most difficult things, I remember the first report on government-owned enterprises produced by Abdikadir was done 12 years ago, but it was not possible to implement. We tried to take it to Parliament, it became difficult, but I am very happy that finally, last year, we managed to pass the law on government-owned enterprises, and as a result, boards of commercial enterprises, 66 of them, we have had to retire close to 250 board members so that we can competitively hire professionals to run those parastatals. And we set the benchmark very high. And I must commend Parliament because Parliament passed a law that actually limits the participation of politicians in boards. The GOE Act bill that I signed into law now says if you have been in a political office you cannot serve in parastatal boards at least for 5 years. You must stay out for 5 years. So that has been a very big bone of contention. But finally, we are now recruiting professionals to run KenGen, Kenya Airports Authority, and many other agencies to introduce greater openness, bring more independent people into the management of government resources or government institutions. And all of us know of the conflict of interest bill that stayed in Parliament for a while because it provided greater scrutiny and demanded more openness in transactions that involve people that wield political power from whatever level. And that demand is now part of our statutes, injecting greater transparency, more openness, and I am very sure greater accountability to the people. And I remember quite recently when we enacted the National Infrastructure Fund Act that will manage quite a pool of resources in our infrastructure space. We also crafted into the law a proper mechanism that will introduce greater openness and greater transparency in the management of that fund. The only participation of the President is to appoint the council. And I appointed the council of eminent people, people who had served at the Afri-Exim Bank and many other places. And they now undertook the process of recruiting a competent board. And the board then will do the rest to create more buffers that limits conflict of interest or people getting into spaces where there is no greater accountability or transparency. I am very happy that that process is moving in the right direction, and we are injecting greater, believability and confidence in the people of Kenya to know that their resources are being managed properly. So this report speaks to the very things that I strongly believe in. And therefore you have, I saw the chairman said that to demonstrate my commitment to openness, I should come and participate in the State of the Openness Report, the launch. Mr. Chairman, I don't have to demonstrate by coming to, I already believe in it. So I will come as part of making sure that this happens, but not in any way to demonstrate my commitment. I am very committed. This is an exercise that, this is a journey I've walked with the OGP over time. It is therefore my honor to formally commission the preparation of Kenya's inaugural State of the Openness Report and to direct the relevant public institutions to extend their full cooperation to the Commission on Administrative Justice in delivering a rigorous, independent, and nationally significant assessment. I know that you have mentioned about some resources that are required. The AG should work with the Treasury to make sure we avail the resources necessary for them. I remember you mentioned something like 100 million. AG, please, let's find, and if you run into trouble, you look for me, so that we can support this. We can support these good people. And Mr. Chairman, I will make sure that all other people that are that need to provide information will do so. So that. Thank you very much. May this report become a lasting measure of our fidelity to the Constitution, our accountability to the people, and our determination to build a government that earns trust through openness, integrity, and service. I want to thank our partners for agreeing to work with us. I invite all other stakeholders, the media, the private sector, the civil society, our independent commissions, and everybody else to be part of this exercise as we grow our country into a mature, open, independent, democratic state. Again, I am very proud this morning to be a leader in a very sophisticated country like Kenya. Thank you very much.